Welcome to the Entrepreneurship Networking Program. Your host, Mwela Jonathan Mpuku, and today we'll be talking about cooperatives, SMEs, and banking. And to help us understand more about business banking for SMEs and cooperatives, we have Mr. Bruce Jaani, the business banking director at ABSA Bank. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Mwela. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much. We're blessed to have you here.
Thank you. Pleasure.
ABSA Bank is one of the biggest and oldest banks in Zambia. It was established in Zambia as far back as 1918 under the name Barclays Bank Zambia, PLC. It was recently awarded for being the best SME bank at Global Banking and Finance Review Awards 2022. We'll just go for a short break and we'll pick the interview from there. Thank you. Welcome back to the Entrepreneurship Networking Program. Like we said, we're talking about cooperatives, SMEs, and banking. And today we're joined by Mr. Bruce Jaani, the Business Banking Director at ABSA. Welcome again.
Thank you very much, Mwela.
Thank you. We'll just jump into it, Mr. Bruce. How has ABSA Bank made banking easier for SMEs and cooperatives?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question because what we've done over the last couple of months, and I think more especially this year, is to try and streamline certain activities, introduce certain activities in the market itself in terms of how we want to interact with the SMEs and cooperatives. So one of the key points that we did was that we went through partnerships with certain critical agencies within the country. For instance, we've been interacting with the USAID Age program, which is basically a USAID initiative.
Yes.
That program, basically what it entails is that, there's a lot of facets that we look at. One of them is obviously how do we ensure that we solution adequately for SMEs.
Okay.
So we came up with different pillars that we look at from that perspective. One of the pillars, and there are 4 or so critical pillars that we look at. One is access to finance.
Yes.
Second is access to mentorship or coaching programs, access to markets, and so forth, and access to business information.
Yes.
So those are the critical ones that we looked at from that perspective to ensure that with SMEs, what is important is obviously working in an ecosystem itself to solution for them.
Yes.
For instance, access to finance. We then went through some interactions with various agencies from using, again, USAID, where probably you heard that we signed a $20 million facility earlier in the year. Yeah. That is one aspect that we unlocked to ensure that we solution adequately from a financing perspective. Okay. When somebody's on that program, there's a lot of benefits that come along with it.
Exactly.
From solutioning issues around collateral, which is typically always the talking point for most of the SMEs.
Yes.
Pricing is another, because now you are facing a AAA rated institution like DFC and so forth. So that was one.
Okay.
The second one, obviously, I did talk about was access to mentorship programs, which is very, very important. You realize that a lot of people do business, but sometimes there's a missing link because you're running, you don't know whether you are in the right lane, whether you're doing the right things in your business itself. So from that perspective, then you realize that you need help. And with this program, then you are able to be assisted from a mentorship, from a coaching point of view, so that you are able to do the right things to make sure that your business thrives at the end of the day. In that program of mentorship itself, that's where you find probably conversations around why it's important for you to prepare financial statements.
Exactly.
Record keeping is critical because that's the only way you know how well your business is doing at the end of the day. Okay. And then obviously access to markets, is basically what you produce. Is there a market for it? Those are conversations, again, that we've had working with them and other partners like ZDA as well.
Okay.
Then access to business information itself. A lot of people don't have, adequate information around what are the possibilities, what are the opportunities, how do they tap into those opportunities and so forth. So working with partners of this nature, then you unlock those opportunities by getting information that can help you thrive in your business or grow your business to a large extent. So those are things that we have opened up as ABSA.
Okay.
And we're proud to say that I think we have seen a very positive uptake.
Oh, okay.
And to even take it a little bit further is that obviously you probably have come up, to know that, earlier in the year, we launched what is known as Unleash, which is a women proposition, yes, which basically sits very well in terms of the SME proposition itself. And so far, positive results. Women are focused in terms of making money, in terms of making sure they are running business. So yes, it's an exciting proposition of which we have a dedicated relationship management team that speaks to them around what are the possibilities for us to get their business off the ground and so forth. So those are some of the few things that we are doing at ABSA. Like I said, it's exciting times. Then talking about obviously cooperatives, which is an area that we are of keen interest as well, because now cooperatives obviously are multifaceted. It's not only agric like yes, it was historically. So there are conversations that we've obviously been having, again, working with our partners like USAID to see how we can develop a proposition around cooperatives itself, around agric, and probably many other, sectors of the economy itself.
Yes.
Which is a mandate that we have at the moment, and we're on the right track in terms of putting up solutions for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Great. So exciting times.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Indeed, and it's quite informative. And I just wanted to, as an SME, with this empowerment, the government has come in.
Yes.
It's a requirement to have a bank account.
Yes.
Nowadays. So what is required for one to open a business bank account? Because some people out there, they'll be like, oh, it's complicated, but I think it's a very, very tailored and shortened process.
Absolutely.
So if today I'm a business, I've opened a business.
That's right.
What requirement does ABSA requires you to?
We get that a lot, that we're still called Barclays, but yeah, we're ABSA. So the requirements are not as onerous as people do think they are. This is pieces of information that they already have in hand.
Yes.
For instance, the only thing that probably you get from the bank is a standard application form, which you need to complete as a potential client, which obviously requires information about yourself, your business, who the directors are, who the shareholders are, which is standard documentation. Then the rest of the things that you get is obviously certificate of incorporation from your of your business, which typically you get once PACRA have registered your business and so forth.
Okay.
So others are, things like your ID, your NRC, your address, confirmation, and so forth. So it's not really onerous. Like I said, probably 90% of the stuff you already have as an individual, as a business person. The only thing that you get from the bank is obviously just the standard application form itself. So we've made it much easier. It's very easy to open a banking account. In fact, what we are doing now, we have a huge project around making it even further easier for some of our SMEs, where we are exploring opportunities of putting it digitally. So that, wherever you are, you don't have to walk into a branch or come to, our head office to come and fulfill the elements of opening a banking account. So from a digital perspective, I think it's something that we are also solutioning, and I think you'll see something up and running fairly shortly. So opening an account is not an issue. The critical issue is the provision of information, where, you just need to provide that information. And if there are any questions, typically we are structured where if you are not too sure about the application form itself, there is a dedicated team of people to help you go through the completion of the form itself. So relationship managers there, and a team of what we call coverage support staff are there basically to sit with you and just walk you through that whole process. So it's very easy. It's not as complicated as typically people think it is. And let me also extend this really to the public, that if you want to open an account, it's come to ABSA. You'll find very friendly people. You can walk into a branch ask the question. Where probably business people are not there, the branch is there to service you. Branch manager will be able to help you from that perspective to just walk you through the process itself. If they're not clear, obviously there'll be a way that will you will find engagements to get to you in terms of the process itself. Otherwise, nothing complex.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. You spoke about access to finance. Some companies believe that the banks should be more flexible in the requirements that they need to have when you're getting a loan.
Yes.
So we find that companies have been denied loans due to their maybe past credit history.
Yes.
Even when they have capability to pay back the loan.
Yes. Yes.
So what are your thoughts on this?
For me, I think first and foremost, I think credibility is very important in any process because if you've had a poor credit culture in the past, it's very difficult, to obviously borrow, because on what basis does a bank, assess you if historically you've defaulted on some lending? I think that's very simple. Even in your personal capacity, if you give somebody money today, he doesn't pay back, 2 years later down the line, he comes back and wants to ask for money from you. What would be your typical reaction as an individual? Obviously, you'll be very cautious to lend that money to that individual. So similarly, from a banking point of view, we take a view that because remember, these funds that we lend are customers' money.
Yes.
So you want to make sure you safeguard that whole process around lending to whomever you're lending to. So creditworthiness is a key aspect.
Yes.
For us to look at. Other aspects, obviously, around whether the business is sustainable. And by sustainability, we are saying that, a company should be able to produce at least some numbers, financial statements, for instance. Because that's important, because obviously, how else will you know as an individual whether your business is doing well or not doing well, apart from aggregating it into a document called a financial statement?
Yes.
Because that will tell you the picture of whether you're making money and what sort of capital structure you should be looking at if you want to expand, for instance, and how much investment you as an individual has put into the company itself. It will be able to show you all those pieces of information. And then obviously, others is just to understand, the sustainability of your business around, is your business contracted to, say, for instance, a bigger entity whom you supply to? Are those cash flows going to be certain into the future? Those are questions that we ask to understand the business holistically. So from that perspective, I don't see it as as an onerous process. I think what our clients need to understand is that there's an importance that is placed on these pieces of information that we ask for, and people only realize it when we sit down to explain why we need this information. Like, for instance, I spoke about financial statements. How else will you know whether you're making money? You could just be hand to mouth.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, is that business profitable? You will never know until you produce a statement or a balance sheet or something like that.
Yes.
So it's those elements that we try and educate our clients from a financial literacy point of view to say, these are important. These you need to produce. Yes, it might sound like, it's a big ask, but I think it's also for your own benefit. And by the way, there's always a myth that, financial statements, we only need them from the big auditing firms. I don't think that's the case.
No, yeah.
I think provided the company that is doing your audits is Zika registered, that's acceptable, because we understand that they go through the process themselves to get vetted by Zika.
Yes.
For them to start producing financial statements. So from that perspective, you can see that I think there are opportunities for them to have options of where to get an accounting firm to do that process for them.
Exactly.
So for me, I think the process is not complicated. I think it's a question of appreciating where is the bank coming from. Okay. Although, in some cases, there are certain measures that we relax. For instance, if you are part of a bigger ecosystem, for instance, you're contracted by maybe a multinational from a supply point of view. Instead of us asking for audited accounts, we could ask for management accounts in a particular format. Those things we've relaxed.
Okay.
So it's a question of saying, how do we understand your business? Or is it one where customers just walk in, or are you contracted by the multinational themselves? So there are different options that we could look at to solution for whomever is looking for financing. But otherwise, I think in this dispensation, I think our doors are open. Like we say, we believe in Africanacity, which is obviously finding solutions for customers to do their business.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just ended the agriculture and commercial show. Remember,
Yes.
the theme was innovation through technology.
Yes.
How has ABSA tailored its operations, to fit in? How are you using technology to make your some of the functions work easily for SMEs and other businesses, of course?
Yeah. Thank you for that question. There are a number of interventions that we've put in place as a bank from an a tech innovation point of view. For instance, right now, most of our SMEs, we encourage them, in fact, to go more digital. So instead of you giving us manual instructions from that perspective, when you want to transfer money, there is an internet banking platform that we have that customers use. That's one. If you want to sort of make bulk payments, instead of just single payments, but bulk payments, you can use your internet banking platform for that to happen.
Okay.
So further to that is obviously if you want to, open up a letter of credit facility, a trade letter of credit facility, you can actually apply through a system called a trade system that we use on the platform itself. So that's a second.
Oh, okay.
Then there are other initiatives that we are driving. For instance, we've got now Spark, which is a wallet-based sort of wallet that the bank owns, where customers can put money on their wallets and go and spend. This is a bank-owned wallet.
Okay.
So that's enough, innovation and technology that we think is ideal for the times, because then you don't have to move with cash all the time. You can put it into a wallet and go and spend out there. So those are things that we have done as a bank. There are many more. Some of them, the other that comes top of mind for me is the FX one, where you could almost send a request to do FX trading onto a platform that we use, and you'll be able to get a rate, and then you settle from that perspective. So there are a number of interventions that we're looking at, and now the latest is obviously agency banking that we're looking at as a bank. I think we're just rolling it out just now.
Okay.
So it's all those things that have stemmed out from a tech innovation point of view, from ABSA Bank point of view. So ours is to continue leveraging on the technology to ensure that we become more efficient and more relevant to our clients and more convenience to them, to do their business. Rather than spending time driving to the bank, they can actually do banking at the conveniences of their offices and so forth. So those are things that we are kind of driving at the moment for our clients.
Oh, all right. Great stuff. I'll just bring you to the economic side of things. What does it mean for the bank when the inflation rate reduces and the kwacha continue appreciating, like the way it's been recently, against other foreign currencies in regard to SMEs and other businesses? What does it mean by the bank when we see such improvements to our currency and also just the inflation rate? Yeah.
I think for me, it speaks to, and kudos to obviously the government, that these are important macro indicators which demonstrate that the economy is going in the right direction from that perspective. So to stabilize these, I think, is quite important, because then elements around the cost of doing business becomes a key talking point. Because if, for instance, inflation comes down, then people can afford to buy commodity out there. If exchange rates remain stable and comes down, then it means the cost of importation of commodity becomes cheaper. So it's those elements that you want to leverage off, because you know that the cost of doing business is cheaper, That's number one. Secondly, is obviously you know that market is guaranteed because people can afford to buy whatever commodities that you bring in. Remember that Zambia is heavily skewed towards importation.
Yes.
So the cheaper the goods that come in, the more the market that is created in-house. Okay. So for me, I think those are very, very important fundamentals that the government has, worked towards to try and bring inflation down. I think it's probably close to single digit now, probably sitting at around 10%, which is excellent as opposed to where it was a couple of months ago. If we look at the exchange rate, it was almost sitting at 24. Now it's sitting at 16. Oh. So all those are positive indicators that the stability, that is coming to the market itself. And just picking up on some of the comments that the Minister of Finance was talking about, he actually singled out these two elements as important elements that they would want to stabilize, because then stability in the economy kicks in because inflation is low, exchange rate is obviously at a level that is affordable or acceptable in the market itself. And it builds confidence to whomever is an investor because stability creates markets at the end of the day. So I think those are my thoughts around, what is happening in the inflationary and, exchange rate markets.
All right, okay. Yeah. Oh, no, great stuff, great stuff. Well, coming towards the end of the program, we'll just break off and then we can close the program when we come back. Welcome back to the Entrepreneurship Networking Program. Like we've been discussing business banking for SMEs and cooperatives and other businesses out there. Mr. Bruce, just on the last note, speaking from a business banking point of view, do you have any words of encouragement to the younger entrepreneurs out there?
Yeah, I think, the time is about right. Just by the mere fact that, the Ministry of SME was created, I think sends a very positive signal to what the ambition should look like. I think it's a question of those that, have an entrepreneurial spirit to latch on to that, initiative. So from our perspective, obviously, like I said, I mean, we launched Unleash, which is a women proposition, and it cuts across the various ages, provided the business is, led by a woman. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be an older or mature. I think even youths can come and see us. We've got a whole set of people that can come and talk to you about, the benefits that you can draw out of there to run your business. That's number one. Number two, obviously, the youth, which is the men's side of things now, is also something that we are very closely solutioning for. And again, it's a question of coming through to the bank. It might sit for the moment in the wider SME proposition itself. Okay. But we're happy to have those conversations. But I think more importantly, I think when we're talking outside, I did talk about the event that we had on Saturday, this last Saturday, in Solwezi, where we're launching an innovation hub, which basically now solutions exactly the question that you're asking around what do you do with the youths? Because these innovation hubs are about startups, about people that have business ideas. They don't probably have, facilities where they can operate from. This whole innovation hub is something that was launched in collaboration with the Jacaranda Hub, who have been on the market, I think, for the last few years, who have the expertise to handhold, startups, typically around youths, actually, as a proposition. So we started with Solwezi and many more hubs. I think we're going to have like 5 hubs right around the country to solution for the youth themselves. So look out for, when applications are called for in the various hubs. Because we believe that through that whole process, we can then sharpen the entrepreneurial skills from that perspective and see how we can support you as a youth from that perspective itself. So, yeah, so that's one that is exciting us as a bank. So we started with Solwezi. I think the next is probably Chipata, and then we go to the various other towns within the country itself. And we wanted to start with the remote locations because I think typically everything happens in Lusaka. Okay. But I think there's a lot of opportunities that sits in the far-flung areas. And when we were in Solwezi, and it spoke loudly in terms of what the opportunities look like, and we were with the Minister of Science and Technology, who really graced the occasion itself. So from a solutioning point of view, we've got these hubs. Please look out for these hubs. But if you're in Lusaka, you can still come and see us and we can have conversations because there will also be a hub in Lusaka. Okay. But we just felt to starting out of Lusaka for the reasons that I've just mentioned. So really exciting times going forward into the future for ABSA.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Bruce Jaani, for actually coming through.
Thank you.
It has been very informative.
Thank you very much, Mila.
Okay. If you have any questions for ABSA Bank Zambia, please visit their Facebook page or any branch nearest to you, so they can actually give you more information, just as Mr. Bruce has put it. So if you have any other questions, you can also get in touch with us on 079 650 974. Thank you all for joining us, and see you next time.
Thank you very much.